Yeah, those were the times when everybody could still be in halls and stadiums within the crowds. So, hello and welcome to another episode of our weekly Spielworxx chat, and my name is Uli Blennemann. This is certainly, this Spielworxx chat, not the most important event for today. However, maybe it is a little bit of a brief stress relief for some of you. And the election, of course, is of huge importance, not only for the USA, but also for the rest of the world. This is certain. And then I found this yesterday. So let me briefly post the URL of this here. So, because I found it quite interesting. Let me put it in here. There it is. And hi Mo, hi Chris, good to see you. So this is a German kids book and called Kleiner König Kallewirsch. And in my youth, so in the 70s, this series was well known in Germany because it was in television as done by a, what's the term, marionette theater series, and really well presented. But what is really interesting in this series is that the bad guy in it is called, and I'm not making this up, Zoppo or Zoppo Trump. So, and Trump in the series tries to win the kingdom for himself. So I think this is somewhat interesting. And by the way, here is a picture of Zoppo Trump. The hair is not completely correct, but the rest is somewhat the same. So in the series, this is Zoppo Trump. Well, anyway, so I found this interesting. But let me now start with a big thank you to all of you who supported the Crescent City Cargo and Captains of the Gulf Kickstarter. Very, very good. And Chris is saying, well, the Spielworxx chat is always an important event. Thank you so much. Somewhat less important than this other event today, I guess. But thank you. The BGG copies of The Cost, they will arrive this week in the US. So all pre-order customers via BGG should have their copies real soon. And in Germany, the German edition, and this is also of course true for Austria, Switzerland, and Luxembourg and Liechtenstein, all German edition copies of Pax Pamir have been delivered. And I will likely get in touch with people who are on the waiting list, so who have asked me, are there any more copies of these this weekend? And hint, it looks really good. So I will have a few copies that I can still sell. Spielwarenmesse in Nuremberg. This is the equivalent to the New York Toy Fair. So it's a trade, toy and games fair in Germany. It has a new date. It has been moved from late January to July 20 to 24. And of course, as you all know, a trade fair has a lot less people, a lot less attendees than a consumer fair, but I still think it is doubtful that the fair will happen in summer 2021. But we'll see. And what you are seeing over there already, this is the Vessel game board of Versailles 1919. A game by Jeff Engelstein and Mark Herman for GMT Games. And by the way, I'm not sure if you can see this. So this is the game box of this GMT game. And I had the pleasure to play this game recently a couple of times. And I think I really like it more and more, which with each gameplay I'm having under my belt. So Versailles is in the same series as Churchill and Pericles. I think it is termed the Great Statesman series, but although I'm not quite sure. But it is mechanically a completely different game. So we are having Pericles, which in my opinion is quite complex and takes a lot of time. Versailles is a lot quicker playing, so I think the playing time when you know the rules is about 2 hours, could be 2.5 hours. So it's also a lot shorter than the full game of Churchill. Although complexity-wise, it's probably on par with Churchill. But in my opinion, when you are playing Versailles with 3 or 4 players, um, I think it is an excellent game experience. And on first glance, you think, oh, I'm only placing some wooden cubes on issue cards, as I'm doing it over here. So there would be now a blue cube on this card here. But and you think, why am I doing this? But in actual gameplay, the game is much more. Suddenly you really negotiate with the other players, and suddenly such a tiny cube on an issue is really important. And this is what I call immersion. So really well done, Jeff and Mark, as the designers in GMT games, for producing the game. And we can quickly look at this over here. So this would be an issue card. You see this is on the table. So these 2 issue cards here are here discussed. And this would be the league voting. And by the way, this would be inter-allied debt. And then, of course, we are having more cards in the waiting room, which will later come down to on the table to be discussed by the US, by France, by Britain, and by Italy, so the game players. But we also are having lots of historical persona. So this, of course, is also important for immersion. So here is, this card is Herbert Hoover. At that time, he's the head of the US Food Administration, supplying relief to Europe. Or down here, we are having the Belgian foreign minister. So there are, of course, lots of other persona. This is, who is this? This is Maurice Hankey, the British cabinet secretary. And of course, they all have an effect. And over here, probably can't see them really well, but I can move over here one. These are strategy cards, and at a certain point in the game, a player may pick them, and this will allow them to move their strategy according to this strategy card. So really nicely done. And if you get a chance to play a game of Versailles 1919, you should check it out. It has a solo mode, if I'm not mistaken. But I think the game really shines because there is a lot of negotiation with 3 and 4 players. Oh, there's Steffen. Hi, Steffen, good to see you. And yeah, he's confirming that he's liking the game a lot. So that was Versailles. And I already hinted in my brief intro at Conworks. So if you have seen the intro on my Friday at Conworks, you know this, that I'm very happy with my 2020 lineup of games. And I'm normally not a person who promotes his company's games heavily, but I really think that the Grand Trunk Journey would be a strong candidate for Kennerspiel des Jahres next year, and that the cost should get a special award in a category, let's term it a special award in serious games. And so will this happen? No, it won't happen. Because one of the criteria of the Spiel des Jahres organization is that the game needs to be in general distribution. So whatever that means. And this is really strange. As if, let us assume that the Grand Trunk Journey would be nominated, really nominated, then definitely a major player in the distribution part of our hobby would get in touch and would like to take the game in distribution. And in my opinion, it is one of the steps where the jury actively helps the big players in our industry and is killing some creativity in our hobby. But yeah, well, enough of this positive stuff right now. Grisou is over there. Hey, good to see you. Greetings to Berlin, I think. I hope that Berlin is correct. But let us move to some cover drafts. So I will show you the cover drafts of Taros and then of Squaring Circleville. And these will be my next two games of 2021. Taros will be the first game, and Squaring Circleville by Matt Wolf will be my second game next year. So let's move over. And please remember, these are drafts, so a lot can change. So let's see. So this is Taros by Bernd Scholz. This is, we talked about this 2 weeks ago and at Conworks as well. This is a back-building dice drafting game in the steampunk universe. So everything here is a little bit cooler, colder, and this is done on purpose. And with some strange steampunk machines, people can mine on this planet. This is why Harald moved this machine, this engine, in the top part of the cover. And then again, this is a draft, of course, and also the coloring can change 100%. This is a Squaring Circleville cover draft. And this will be in the square box, so it is a bigger game because it has a really large board. And you see Matt Wolf is here mentioned, and the story, I mentioned this before, behind Squaring Circleville is that this round city, a town in Ohio, Circleville, is squared by a company called Squaring Circleville. So you see on the cover still the old outline here, the round stuff in Circleville. And because Matt sent us some plans, historical plans, you may see here and also here faded out some of the historical documents where they that they used to remodel the whole city plan. And you see that's why this is in a square. And Harald, the graphics artist, the always amazing Harald Lieske, he did his own square font for the individual letters. So this will be our second game next year. Berlin is right, I see. And hello, Nicholas. Good to see you. Guten Abend. Yeah. Thank you for your comments to the artwork. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it needed a square box. If this would be in any other box, it would be strange. Although maybe a round box could have been done, but they are difficult to manufacture, to store, whatever. Yeah, a round box. Yeah. So these are the two boards. And I would also like to briefly talk today about reviewing and criticism. And I would, via the chat window, love to hear your comments about this. And you may have heard that's a new, and my pronunciation will be off, Tor dice game got a negative review by a prominent video review channel. And among other things, the game was called Poop. So the game is being published by, and again, sorry for this bad pronunciation, by Sébastien Dujardin of Pearl Games. And I know Sébastien personally. Pearl Games did the French language edition of La Granja, and he's a really, really nice fellow. But apparently he also suffers from a kind of depression. So this critique hit him hard, really very, very hard. So he wrote that he would get out of this industry completely. In my opinion, a reviewer has to refrain from such a word, poop, and there were other really strong words in a review. But in general, I have a feeling that more and more reviews are either very positive, so, wow, this is amazing, this is wonderful, or are very negative. So it seems that nuanced reviews, saying something positive, something negative, or questioning something, they are not heard anymore, or have a tougher time to be heard in all this noise out there in the gaming industry. So at least this is my feeling. And dealing with criticism is never easy, but a lot depends how it is presented. So this is my take on this. And this brings me to Spiel Digital. And also, please post in the chat window what you are thinking about the event if you have attended it. And in my opinion, and in the opinion of quite a few other participants that I contacted during and after the event, it was at least a minor failure. And I really watched quite a few different streams and also some events. But I do not want to repeat my view here. I would just like to mention that I received a number of comments on my critique, and this is normally totally fine. But when you have enjoyed the digital fair, this is fine. And I'm with my critique, I'm not taking anything away from your enjoyment of this event. So it's just that I do not, or I did not like it. Um, and in my games, or towards my games, I'm always listening to any critique. So this is, I think, very, very important. It is just often that I cannot really respond to some criticism because the person criticizing and I are on different levels. And this may now sound terribly arrogant, but it is also a fact. A lot of people, they really do not want to discuss or want to listen. They are coming with their opinion, and that's what it is. And this I find sad and also somewhat strange. But let me see, is there anything I'm seeing here? Oh, there's Daniel. Hey, you said you're not coming, so for the first time we had a great time over here, and now you're here finally on a lunch break. So yeah, you missed Zoppo Trump, the bad guy in a German kids book series. And so really his name in that series was Trump. So that's what you are missing. Oliver is there, I see, and there is a comment from I missed your first name, Grisou, again. So sorry for this. Either you were a big fan before, extremely positive reviews, or not played enough, then it is quickly criticized, very negative reviews. Many do not spend a long time studying games. Yeah, of course, reviewing games is hard work. It is hard work. So a few of you may have seen Dan last week, and he's of course a master of the pencil, and he's the best reviewer, but he takes a lot of care. And if you, or if some of you probably have written a review, and it is not everybody can do this well. So first, it is a lot of work, and you need to play the game several times, or at least you should play the game several times. But I'm always saying, if this is not your cup of tea, then better do not do so. But of course, on a different level, if your review is coming out 6 months after all the other reviews have been presented, then you are too late. Maybe next time you are not getting your free copy from the publishers. There's also this relationship, publisher reviewer, and I'm not sure if this is very healthy in our industry. And Daniel is saying, surprise, I'm here to ruin everything. Well, you can't do this. Nicholas is saying, a factor to take into account is that reviewing of games in digital media nowadays seems to be less about taking a journalistic perspective on the subject matter, what needs this kind of nuanced and more detailed perspective, and more about answering the question for the audience, should you buy this game? Yes, no, instead of providing the audience with the information. They would need to answer this by themselves. Yeah, and I agree 100%. That people want to have a laundry list. Is this game something for them? And they are not interested in some of the details. Buying, should I get this? Should I not get this? I think this is absolutely correct. And this is also why but this is just my personal opinion, because I'm very wary of rating lists, of rating numbers. And I know Timo is there. Now I thank you for mentioning your name again. And Timo, you are doing on Twitter very brief, these are not reviews, but great impressions with photos. This is wonderful for Twitter. You're giving them numerical ratings like BGG or in Germany Spielworxx magazine is doing. But I find this very difficult personally, because what is your 8? Or you are even, I think you are giving an 8.5 or an 8.3. What does this mean? Is your 8 maybe worse than my 9, or is your 7 better than my 8? So I'm not sure, but people want to have it on one quick look. If it is an 8 on BGG, it must be a great game, and if it's a 5, it must be a pretty terrible game. So, and Timo, I now hope that I will never forget your first name, probably till last week. Forgive me, I'm old, so um, Nicholas is mentioning, I think this may be behind this great polarization you mentioned about reviews becoming more and more yay versus trash. Yeah, but and maybe gaming is just following the trend of polarization. And now we are getting back to the start of this stream, to the US election. Everything seems to be polarized in gaming as well. So it's either very bad, poop, like in this review I mentioned, or it's excellent and outstanding. And there's only black and white and no gray anymore. So, but maybe this is not only in the, or probably this is not only in the gaming industry or in the gaming business, this is probably everywhere. And if you are mentioning, this game could be for you, but maybe not for you, and I'm thinking about it should be for this group, people are not listening to you anymore. Game digital. I would have liked to have been a little more involved, like at the Castle Tricon, with an avatar and communication platforms that enable webcams. Yeah, I've heard this several times. So, and I looked a little bit at this. I think this was done by Heidelberg and Czech Games Edition, and I think even of a third company. I'm not sure. This may be a way of or maybe the way for the future, because one of the biggest attractions of a physical games convention is that you are seeing all these people, that you are feeling it, you are hearing the noise. I'm looking to the right and I'm seeing a game table. People are playing something. I'm looking to the other side. People are playing. People are talking. I'm seeing some friends. And this is exciting. Whereas at a digital games convention, and this is a medium right now, if it's UK Virtual Games Con, if it's Gen Con, if it's Spiel Digital, you are at home and alone. And Discord channels, and I'm not mentioning again the problems I'm having data-wise, data protection-wise, but Discord channels are not the same for sure. And quite a few companies at Spiel Digitals had their own Discord channels, but it was like a ghost town. Just the official Discord channel of the Messe of Merz Verlag had some people over there, but it's still not the real thing. And getting back to your comment here, I'm not sure if this 3D avatar thing is something for me, because to me, when I looked at it, it was like in a video game. I felt like in a third person shooter. I immediately had the impulse to shoot all the other avatars. So sorry. So I should probably not take part in this. But I think you are completely correct that for most people it would be a step in the right direction. So for feeling not lonely at home, but just actively communicating. Spieletreffenverteiler. The official Spiel Digital website was a bit confusing, and I watched some German live streams and participated in the text chat. Spiel Digital, Pegasus Games, Spieloffensive, Spielblock, and some others. Yes, that was another thing. So the same thing was true for Gen Con online, that if you are just a casual visitor to Spiel Digital, you were confused easily. And I have quite a few friends I talked to who were at Spiel Digital for a maximum of 30 minutes because they logged in, were confused, looked around, maybe they wanted to try to buy a game, were just linked to the website of the publisher, and that's it. And so they logged out and better spent their next 4 days playing games at home. So I think this has to improve also, that people find stuff way more easier. And mentioning publishers, I think some did a great job with their presentations and with their events, but some definitely were quite lazy. Not sure if this is the right term, but they didn't do a lot. So it was just their website, some links. Definitely not good enough for people attending it. Um, Hi Phil, Spielpunks, but were the reviews in general at some point better? I doubt it. This is a fair comment. This is a very good comment. Um, I think yes, they were in some respects better. So most of you know that I'm a wargamer. So, and in the 80s, without any internet, so I subscribed, for example, to Fire and Movement magazine, just wargaming. And so I got every other month, I got a review magazine, and sometimes there were 10-page reviews in there, and they are still good to read. And recently, a couple of months ago, I wanted to play Pax Britannica by by Victory Games, not Victory Point Games, a different company, Victory Games again. So, and I picked the Fire and Movement issue, and it was a long and detailed and very well written review. But still, I think it's a fair point. If I'm thinking now about Spielworxx magazine here in Germany 10 years ago, maybe the reviews weren't that good too. So maybe it is just that the quick media of videos and video blogs makes it a lot easier to post something, some pictures, and then some lines. You should buy it. Done. Maybe. Um, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years. Yeah, Fire Movement magazine. This is 80s. This is the 80s to early 90s, I think. Nicholas, it also takes some time until you get to know a reviewer and know what it means at all to you, that they do or don't like, what kind of games they like, influences their ratings a lot. So getting to know that is also a thing that plays into what you are saying. What does their aid mean? Totally in agreement here. So I know know is a strong term. I know Dan, at least in writing, Dan Thoreau, Space Biff, quite well. I know how he sees things, and this is very helpful to me. Maybe if somebody sees a review of him for the first time, and this is on an obscure game, they have no idea what it is about. And the best way to avoid reading misleading reviews is buying all the games and forging your own opinion about them. Yeah, more power to you, I can only say. Um, and getting back to the avatars and to the webcams in Spiel Digital, the shooting thing is just you, Uli. This is my peaceful impulse. This is what it is. Nicholas, I've heard of some people's computers to not being able to manage the 3D environment, which is also a concern, right? And I've heard that quite a few people are try to watch this on a smartphone, on a cell phone, or on a weak netbook, and this could crash the netbook. Yeah, setting up such a digital convention is not easy, and my kudos go to Merz Verlag to having tried this. And there's certainly a lot of room for improvement for next year. That's for sure. And Daniel is saying, I heard that PD Verlag had some pretty amazing interviews with the designers of Watch. Yeah, the interviewer was in great form. Just the other guy, this designer of Watch, he was so. No, you did excellently, Daniel. So, and I think that the PD Verlag streams were well done. So everything that company did, that publisher was well. Stefan, good to see you, Stefan. Lot of attendees that were familiar with Tabletopia and Discord were before the fair liked playing the games and stayed all 4 days online. We have heard of both 15 minutes and 60 hours attendees. Yeah, this is true, but this is and I think, and I mentioned this in my piece on Spiel Digital, that Ostia, Stefan's company, is also a minor player. It's a small company, but what they did and what they presented, this was wonderful. And this is what I mean in comparison to some other lazy publishers. And of course, Stefan, and this is the nature of the beast, you, a small company, can work very hard for 96 hours, so which is, in my opinion, way too long anyway. But you can hard, but just a small group of people will see this and will appreciate this. But if when Ravensburger does hardly anything and others are not doing, really not doing anything, the one of several of the big players, then this is what people will remember for the future. Um, and Timo is saying, yeah, the BGG rating in your description. So I just wanted to mention this. This is fine. Please continue. So when you are saying I would like to add a 9 or a 7, a 6 or 5 to it, and you would like to rate this and use BGG rating, this is totally fine for me. And Phil is saying, who could expect people watching things on their phone? Yeah, right. So, well, yeah. Anyway, so I think, and looking at the corona numbers, the COVID-19 numbers all over this planet right now, I have my doubts that there will be a physical Spiel next year. But if there is a physical Spiel, I'm 100% certain that it will be a different affair. So if it will be physical, there will be a lot less people, because some people definitely, even if it's allowed, they won't travel, especially international visitors. Luckily, the fairground, the Messe Essen, they can expand because the halls that are rented for Spiel, there are several more. So you could spread out. Of course, this costs a lot of money because you have to pay per hall. And then I think the total number of people will be less on a larger ground. But first, the Messe Essen has to survive till next year. It is owned, I think, hopefully I'm not mistaken, at least in part by the city of Essen. But if they cannot really do fairs till next fall or till summer, or just very tiny ones with a couple of hundreds or just 2,000 people, then it's not only that there is a fairground, it's the people, the event organizers, it's everybody who's working for it, and this can't last forever. But I'm always a pessimist, so I don't know. So anything can happen here. Yeah, so let's see. We have 6:20 over here. So I think enough of all this positive stuff here. If you are in the US and if you haven't voted yet, please vote. And you know who you should vote to. I'm just bringing this picture up again, not to Zoppo Trump. You see, no, this shouldn't be done. So no Zoppo. And otherwise, next week I will have two guests. These are the wonderful designers of Yinzi, so Rola and Costa from Portugal. And if Biden is really president next week, I may actually sing for the first time. So, thank you for your time. If you would like to see a special topic discussed in advance or have a specific question that you'd like to ask and that I will bring up here, drop me a mail at uli@spielworxx.de. That is uli@spielworxx.de. So, till next week, bleibt gesund, Black Lives Matter. Bye bye.